Hello, hi there. We have a question from Marty. Uh, yes, we do plan to bring the iOS support. Uh, iOS and Android are very different platforms, and we've been thinking about it that we should get to iOS as quickly as possible, and we in fact had very huge plans, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, it's been delayed. But it's still on the radar map, and we should have the iOS app very soon. For example, as of today, I just want to show you something we have just recently going to introduce, which is the consisting, and we haven't released the update yet. It's still in the final stages of testing. But we just would like to give you a demo, and because we thought that would be having a feature as a priority rather than just uh, as opposed to just supporting the platforms. So, but yes, we will support other platforms definitely in the future. Right. So, I would like to actually, since this is just live demo, as I'll be answering questions as well as I think it would be a good idea to just kind of go ahead and maybe give a demo of how exactly the controller app works, so that people can appreciate what exactly LocoFi is about. Let me just go and share the screen. I hope everybody can see. So the main screen shows the locomotives that are available in the network. And as you can see, we got like 6 locomotives here. Uh, and we can manage whatever locomotives uh, we want. And so one cool thing about this app is it's what we call multi-engineer. So once you manage this, any other engineers on this network would see these locos as managed, and they won't be able to manage unless they explicitly are released from here. So I'm just gonna show you with another phone, another engineer controller app, which shows the 3 engineers are managing this app. So let's go ahead and get to consistence. So for that, I have these 3 locomotives on the outer loop. Let me just the camera a little bit here. I, I think it's better. So one cool thing about LocoFi is the firmware upgrades, uh, which is delivered over the air. So, for example, we have this locomotive, this BNSF ST60M, and as you can see, you can always name the locomotive. So I'm just gonna shut it down so that the upgrade firmware will be enabled. And I'm just gonna shut down all the others. So if you guys have any question about what exactly Wi-Fi model railroad is or the LocoFi is about, please feel free to ask. I'm assuming that most of the people probably know what technologies about this controller application. Uh, I'm just here to kind of give you a demo of the all the cool features that probably are sometimes not visible in some of our demos. So let's go ahead and upgrade the firmware. As you can see, these other couple of locomotives, which is not visible in the view here right now, they have already been upgraded. But let's start with the upgrade of this one. Yeah, you get a little warning that you're about to upgrade, and say okay. So the app itself, the new version needs to be downloaded via some kind of internet connection. It could be your home Wi-Fi. But once the app is downloaded, you don't need it to have any internet connection to run your locomotive or upgrade the firmware or downgrade the firmware. And downgrading is for those who know LocoFi. Downgrading is a new feature we have introduced. I'll just quickly give you a demo of this. Let's manage the NFS. Right. So if you go to about, it will tell you everything about the board that is installed in the locomotive. For example, the MAC address, the IP address. We don't deal with IP addresses because they're not very user friendly. You need to try to remember all these numbers. So you can actually have a name of the locomotive which is more meaningful. And what kind of board is installed, the model number, the firmware version, and you can hit the revert button to go back to the previous version in case there are any issues with the new firmware. So for now, we'll hit OK, and you can see this is how the dashboard looks like. It's speedometer, RPM, horn, bell, lights, and we have introduced a new feature which is the emergency stop. Now, we have introduced two kinds of stops here. One is auto stop and one is this emergency. Emergency is something you can initiate at any time, and that would just stop the local dead in tracks. And of course, it won't be very fast because we don't want to derail the entire train. But in case there is a loss of connection between the controller app and the locomotive, then what do? I mean, this command of stopping is not gonna go through. So in that case, we have added a new feature, which is what we have auto stop on connection loss. And as you can see, this is a much more expanded set of configuration than we have offered before. And this is one of the cool features is this auto stop and connection loss. So if you turn it on, in case there is a connection loss between the controller app and the locomotive will automatically stop. You don't have to do anything. You can turn it off. It may be useful in cases. Think of it like sometimes you have these ESPs in your car, which is the electronic stabilization program, where you don't want you don't want to divert the power to all the wheels. You want to divert the power to like a specific wheel or something. You don't want to activate the electronic stabilization and do it on your own. For example, a train may be entering a tunnel, and you may suspect there may be a signal lost there, so you may just want to turn the setting off and let the train kind of go through. But it's just an optional feature. You can use it whichever you want. Let's go back and let me show you something else. But before that, I need to bring the couple of locomotives I have on the main track here, which they're not visible here. Let me just start them up actually. and so once we have them in the track, I'm gonna show you the process of configuring speed, setting up a speed table, and you will appreciate how easy and cool it is to actually set up consist with LocoFi. Let's see, maybe. So here we go. Just bear with me here, and just I got this ST70 is ahead of the UP ES44. So I just need to get this inside the inner loop. So the way LocoFi consisting works is we have this concept of scale speed. You just don't directly work with speed steps as it is because they're kind of counterintuitive to uh, you know, you know, the actual speeds in real life. So what we instead try to do is configure the scale speed. And once we have the scale speed set for each locomotive for the various speed steps, all we have to do is just uh, you know, uh, just set up a consist. That's it. Yes, yeah. We just locomotive ES44 into the inner loop as well. Give me a second here. Just coming around. Oops, oops. I hope. Okay. Good. So now we have this DNSF on the main track, and this is what we intend to configure the speeds. What I'm gonna do here is go to my config settings, and behind the UP ES44, you can see there is a yellow pencil there. That's what we will use as a speed marker. And so before we set up the consist, we have introduced this checkbox, which is enable consisting. Enable consisting also pretty much enables setting up the scale speed. For example, right now, what you see here is something which is you know something you just want to see like on your dashboard, but they may not really make sense, and that may be fine for many of the cases. But if you really want to set up the real scale speeds, you need to go and set up something on this enable consistent. Let's go ahead and check this box, and you'll be prompted with this idea of speed table. And so we can have about 8 speed tables, and you must be wondering, like, why do we have so many speed tables? Well, you may want to take your locomotive to different layouts, and as you probably already know that With LocoFi, you don't need to have a specific voltage on the track, and all you need is just DC straight power. It can vary from 9 volts and 7 volts for one of our models, DDLLHD, all the way to 24 volts. Now, you may want to take your locomotive to a layout which may have 18 volts, another layout may have 12 volts, another may have 14 volts, and each time the scale speeds would vary. So we want to let you have the flexibility of setting up a track voltage for each of the locomotives. And with that, you can set up a speed table for that particular voltage. And that way, we for now are offering up to 8 track voltages, which should be pretty good enough, we believe. And so let's go ahead and start with setting up for this. This track has a voltage of 16.5 approximately, and we just enable start speed step, which is uh, the speed step at which the locomotive would just barely start moving. That would be the real zero scale speed, and just keep increasing it till it barely starts moving. You can see it barely moving now. And, there you go. Um, Maybe this is looking decent. And we can set up something called a start step delay, which is basically uh, how much delay you want to simulate as if the train is kind of heavily loaded or something like that. Let's give it some number as uh, 6. And now the test track length I have here is 15 feet. And I'm gonna set up 7 speed step. As you probably know, the motor uh, speed varies with voltage, but it's not linear. So if you want to, it's almost linear, but not quite. So if you just want to have some kind of simple speed setting, you can just opt for like simple one-step speed, and you can just have very rough approximate, speed, uh, scale speed there, which will be still within 1 to 2 miles per hour. Uh, but here we're gonna set up 7 speed steps for accuracy. And so I'm just gonna bring the locomotive around to like the yellow pencil, and then uh, just gonna maybe use a timer to kind of time it. Uh, we can also use a real speedometer, something that can measure the scale speed. Uh, but we have provided a kind of a built-in calculator where you enter the time that for your test track, those are the yellow boxes, and it will actually calculate the scale speed for you. You don't have to really do the calculation yourself. But if you have a speedometer, you don't need the test track length or any of the times here. You just enter the scale speed directly. So we're just gonna follow this uh, method of timing it up, and let me bring the locomotive. Okay, so I'm gonna start with 1 here, and I'm gonna start my timer as soon as the front of the locomotive crosses the yellow pencil there, and I have my timer. Let me uh, use the enter timer here. Alright, so I'm gonna go back to my app. Turn it up. It started at the timer, and as it completes one loop of 15 feet, we're just gonna enter the time it took, and that would be our speed step one, and then I'm gonna just follow through setting up the rest of the speed steps. This would just give you an idea of how a speed table is set up. And once you have the speed table set up, uh, it's just 1, 2, 3 to set up the context. So, it's coming around, it's almost halfway through. And you can have whatever brand of locomotive you want in the console. You don't have to have similar brands or anything like that. Like we have on this layout from Lifelike, Proto 2000 to Atlas, Partner, Walters, Athens, Genesis, and all kinds of locomotives, and they just consist perfectly. Coming around, yeah, and, just gonna pause button as it crosses the yellow pencil, and here we go. Yeah, it took 1 minute or 39 seconds, which would be 99 seconds. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that here. 99, and it gives me a scale speed of 9 for the first speed step. I'm just gonna lock it, and they all need to be locked before you will be able to save the speed table. I will demonstrate. So the first speed was kind of the slowest, but rest of them should be pretty fast. Number 2. Right, that's second speed step is being configured here, and we're just gonna time this and try to do we can calculate the scale speed for the second speed step. So you only want to remember that you have to start with the start speed step first, because all the other calculation will be based off of that. So if you change the start speed step later on, please make sure to reset the speed table again. Here we go. It's 43.8 seconds. All right. Like 20. Let's start the third one. Oops, I think I missed it. Come on. Another thing you may want to do is have some more consistency. You may have noticed if you have worked with the DCC, for example, that if you keep the locomotive running for a long time, it starts consuming different amount of current, and the scale speeds actually change. So we want to simulate very similar speed steps. So I typically tend to stop the locomotive a couple of feet before I take the reading and then go from there. Another method could be you let the locomotive run for a few minutes so that it kind of warms up and then get the scale speeds. But in either case, all speed steps should be taken uh, in the same way so that you get more consistent behavior. I'm gonna start the speed step 3 and try not to miss the timer this time. Here we go. Let's see. How long it takes. This seems to be pretty powerful motor here. Alright, we got 1884. So, yeah. Okay. So, actually, we're gonna start with speed step number 4 here. And not miss it. I think I missed it. We stop it for a few seconds so that the current kind of comes down. Alright, I got it this time. Okay, we got 11.6 seconds here. I'm just going to pause here for a moment. We have a question. Is your battery available or do I need one to check that? Battery is still not available. We don't actually sell batteries. No. And that is one of the things we actually try not to be proprietary about is I just kind of give you an open-ended solution, but we do provide a default implementation. So we will provide a smallish kind of battery when we come out with Amrit, which is our kind of battery backup power kind of solution, which is not full-fledged uh, like dead rail, but it's more like a capacitor-based solution. Instead, it's a battery which provides for longer runtime, and the batteries have already kind of become pretty smallish, very comparable to capacitors, and provide more running time. So when we do have Amrit out, we will be providing a default battery, a smallish battery, but as of today, we do not provide uh, any like batteries for running the locomotives. But you're free to purchase anything that suits, for example, your voltage, whatever your requirement is. Back to speed configuration, we are going to set up speed step number 5 here. So I'm going to get it rolling. And I don't want to miss it. Yes, I will miss it. This is a pretty powerful engine. I believe it's an Atom Genesis. And yeah, it's running pretty fast. Let's start it up again. Let it cool down. 2 seconds. Let's no, I did not. Let's just really 8.1 seconds. That was 8.1. Wow. I was at 5. That's already giving scale speed of 110. Must have missed something. Wow. 7.5. This is a very powerful motor. 7.25. 123. Yeah, I have a couple of these union baskets if you see in the view. They are, I think, motors, mainline or something similar. And yeah, they I think top out at around like 90 miles or less wind speed. She's already 123. Some. Some 6.8. Wow. Okay. 131. So we can limit the max scale speed here to which is more reasonable, like in some prototypical locomotives. I would say 100. I mean, you can set any number you want. So, but the fact is, it won't go beyond 131 for this voltage, and that's what we will live with for now. And let's save it. Now you can see here we have a drop down of which shows the voltage profile name, which is pretty much the voltage. You can have 8 different voltages here. And if you want to update any speed profile, you just hit the update button, or you can delete it. Or if you want to add a new profile for a different voltage, you just click on the add new profile. And so I'm just gonna, I am not very good momentum in the next here, so I'm just gonna set to 0 for now. I have auto stop and connection last here. I will have 8 notches and another important thing is to have your scale set before for your scale speed, or you would end up with very different calculations. So you have the option of miles per hour or kilometers per hour. Now, yeah, we try to take care of our European customers and Australian customers, New Zealand. And let's go back here and see. You can see the dashboard, the speedometer looks different here. Let's do it around at a scale speed of a couple of notches and see how it looks. Just gonna start it up. I hope the sound is audible here because I have my second stream actually muted. I just I didn't want any echoes there. So we got this. Let's start it up. Run. The second notch is about 21 miles per hour. I'm just gonna stop a few feet before and get the UP out. Uh, just let me check. I think I might have configured a speed table for this one. Yeah, I want to do this. Turn on the dial. Each other. Let's see, configure. Yeah, I think I have. Yeah, it is set for 16.5 volts, 16.8. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Max speed 90 volts. This is our setup. Let's go to the third one. What was this? I have upgraded the firmware, but I believe I'm not set up there. Scale speed service. I'm just gonna kind of leave this setting up speed table for a later session again because we'll have more viewers coming in later and I would like to show them the entire process again. But for now, let's just try to consist these two, and which means let's shut this one down and bring the UP on. Okay. We're just gonna bring both these locomotives, the UP and the BNSF in line, and and then we will process them. And see how that goes. Okay, we need the UP as leads here, so we bring the BNSF around. And we have another question from Marty here, and any idea when Steam support will be available? Uh, yes, that is concern is right next on our roadmap actually. Uh, we have had more requests for Steam. It has exceeded the demand of iOS for now, and that's what we'll be focusing on. Once we are done with releasing the update for consistent, our next focus will be actually Steam. And we do have several projects planned, not just Steam, but like the turnouts, the remote turnouts. I mean, how cool would it be just throw a switch from your phone and it would be all wireless. You don't have to have wires running under your layout. This is a pretty simple setup, just power to the track, that's it. And we obviously have Amrit, which kind of got put on hold due to some production issues. So yeah, that's all in works, but it's all gonna come out for sure. Uh, let's do the consistent and go here. You can see that we have added uh, some new icons here and some new menu items, and one of them is to create consist. So one thing to remember is you can create consist of whatever is visible on your main dashboard here, main screen. A single loco would have this symbol of one locomotive, and a consist or multi-loco thing will have this symbol of multiple locomotives. So let's say create consist here, and we have these available choices. We are gonna choose our UP and the DNSF, and you can see UP is the lead, so I'm just gonna say leads here, and that will be the rear one. Now, another cool thing that I will show you later is you can have this consist uh, and you can just remove the entire consist from your network and be a network in itself. So you can just carry this consist to any layout. And this was one of the questions one of the modelers had posed me, and we just had it in our head already that how we're gonna achieve it. And you will take it to any layout, with any layout, look at whatever the track voltage there is, set up those track voltages in your consist, and you don't even need to carry your Wi-Fi router or anything like that. The lead loco itself is gonna act like a Wi-Fi router for the rest of your locomotive. So, and that kind of brings us to a limitation on the number of locomotives in a consist, which is about 8. So, as you can see on the screen, I just selected these two locomotives. I said lead, I set the rear, I just said consist, and bang, we are done. That's consistently defined. And we'll soon see how a consist kind of looks. So the consist, when you set up a consist, it kind of reboots the locos. So they're gonna soon appear, and you can see here, this is how a consist is gonna look like. You have the main lead loco, and then you have all the trailing locos listed afterwards. They may be in a different order, but they would tell you the direction they are in. And how the sound coming from RWGT. Too much noise here. Now we can do some yard switching later on. It's just the contest. And do I need to do anything else? No, we're all set up. Let's start up the contest. The front would be the front light of the lead, and the rear would be the rear light of the rear locomotive. And let's see how do they roll. So the DNSF seems to be catching up, which really get and not have to find maybe speak table mismatch. But that's just a minor thing. You sometimes have to kind of tweak that out. But the idea behind the consist is to just kind of set up speak table. So we can tweak that, and for now we can tweak on the key. I guess that's faster. Only the consist of right up again. I'm just gonna connect the DNSF into the siding, and so to delete a consist, you select from this settings icon. And another thing you might have noticed is that if you move from network, the trash icon is gone here. It's been added to the menu over here. So just hit delete consist. Okay. So what this does is it deletes the consist and re-adds the individual locos back to the network. So it's wait a couple of seconds here, and it should appear very soon. Just a moment. Through the switch here. Right, so yeah, we got the locals back. Let's put PNXs back inside in. Back it up and recalibrate the UP. I believe there may be some setup issues there. So. And another thing to remember is when doing the speed match is because we are working with scale speeds, at any time uh, you lubricate the gears or do any other sorts of tweaks, the scale speeds will change. Just keep that in mind. And so we need to have kind of a consistent set of conditions. Let's put that into our so-called yard. Yeah. And delete this. Let's configure the speed table of this. Okay, so we start here. So this time I'm gonna show you like we just started the update instead of something doesn't load here. I believe sorry, my son must have messed up something here. He was playing around with the scale. He did it for a different scale, and that's why there's a speed mismatch. Let's just that's a good exercise. Let's update it here, and I'm just gonna back it up a little bit. Cancel. Yeah, it's really easy, to work with. Actually, my 7-year-old, he loves playing the trains because of the ease it offers, and it's really fun then. Otherwise, you spend your time calculating all the numbers, and, uh, and yeah, I mean, technology should lead the way forward eventually. Right, let's configure. Okay. Step. This looks okay. Is about as zero as it can get. Crawling. Yeah, great. Let's see. Or maybe whatever. Let's do here and let's unlock all these numbers we have here. Maybe that's why it was giving us top speed 90. That number. Maybe it's correct. Okay. It's not a trick. I will just try to remember this speed. Let's see what it's gonna come out. It is crawling, so maybe this. Mm, yeah. This is a slower engine, so we gotta wait a while, maybe a couple of minutes when it comes around. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please feel free to post it in the chat here, and we are glad to answer those. And we are apart from consisting, we are also introducing many smaller features, as I showed. For example, the auto stop and connection loss, and like an emergency stop. I'm gonna go through this setting up emergency stop. Example, we are working with smartphones here. You know, a slight touch would just initiate the stop. So we don't want to stop trains accidentally. So what we have come up with something called pressure sensitive settings. Now, if I'm going to show you those settings where you go in and you can actually set up the amount of pressure you would put. For example, if it's really an emergency, you just go ahead and bam, you just kind of uh, put the brakes on. So the settings would be based on how hard you press on the emergency stop. So you can configure that. We have a question: can locomotives be consistent? Yes, that is exactly what we are doing right now. If you stay here for a bit, you will see how easy it is. It's not officially released yet, but we are just in the final stages of testing this out. And we are actually giving a demo of how consistent is uh, being done right now. So the first step is setting up scale speeds, which we are doing right now for our UP. We are just timing. We can just use a speedometer to kind of find out its scale speed, or we provide a built-in calculator where if you use the smartphone time or any other stopwatch, and you can time a section of your track and just enter the time it takes, and it's just going to calculate the speed for you. And you just end up setting up scale speeds. Once the scale speeds are set up, all you have to do is just consist them in like 2 clicks. We just demonstrated it. It turns out that our UP was previously configured with probably wrong speed steps. So I'm just gonna start as it crosses that yellow pencil and yellow mark there. Here you go. It's 3 minutes and or 21 seconds, which is 103 and 20 200 seconds here. Now we go to the speed table, enter 200 seconds. Oh, it comes out screen speed of 4. That's the reason. Right. So we just lock the speed. We are using a 7-speed step table here. And let's move on to step number 2. But I'm going to park the locomotive very close to the yellow pencil there. So before I time it up. Right. Yeah. Right. Instead of 6, it came out 4, which is a drastic difference. That's why the speed mismatched here. And I'm gonna start the timer of just now. So this question was asked with Jeff. So I hope Jeff you're still there. We are consistent locomotive. We're just setting up a speed table here. If you stick around, you will see how exciting and cool it looks to work with consistently with LocoFi. Actually, starting speed step 2 now. There you go. Right, great. Uh, Consistent kind of really moved up the priority list because I mean that's reality. Um, just, uh, I mean, you don't see single locomotives in real life, uh, and yeah, and it had to be done in a cool way, and we have brought that on this blog. Things have been a little slow lately, but we've been hard at work. So uh, this was a pretty major feature. And we actually combined it with several other smaller features, which we should have released in between, but we just kind of kept clubbing all of these things together. People probably thought we are dead or something. No, this is something we just love doing it. So we will always bring something new, and we'll keep doing that. Yeah. So 1 minute and 25 seconds. And at 85.13. Right? My calculation correct. Yeah. 18, 10. Yeah, that's all the difference. Alright, let's do those. Step number 3. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just starting the timer as soon as I cross the yellow mark and stop the timer as it crosses again. My test track length here is about 15 feet here. So I just kind of, whatever time it takes to do this loop, I just enter it in the box there. And it's coming on. The first and second speed steps are the slowest. Otherwise, it does not take very long. 30.1. Lock it. It's gonna be much faster now. Oops, I think I missed it. The one thing I've been saying previously is that you need to simulate a similar set of conditions when doing this speed calculation, the scale setting of the scale speeds. So one of the things some people tend to kind of let the locomotive run for a few minutes to kind of uh, get to get the motor warm up, and then it consumes a different amount of current, and so we can do that. But whatever we do, we need to do it for all the speed steps for all the locomotives in a consistent way. What we are doing here is I'm just uh, before I do the test, I just stop the locomotive for a few seconds and then start the test. So even if the motors of all the locomotives warm up, they will slightly differ, but not a whole lot. So yeah. Oh, yeah. How I did this it should be faster. Um, 17.17. 17.17. Let's do. I just use a higher speed step number to kind of come closer to the yellow mark quickly. Five, yeah. These are two very different locomotives. 11.8 pounds. Ten point seven seven. I'm just gonna retime it. Just gonna let it stop and start again. Because these times can vary slightly. If I keep running it for 3 loops and then time it, uh, uh, give it a few seconds, let the current kind of settle down there. And then start off. Here we go. Default call 10.40, yeah. 10.43. That one, whatever. I guess, but the last speed step, okay, manually. So for the folks who are joining in now, we are doing the live demo of consistent 10.46. Move it a little forward so that when I bring the BNSF behind it, I become visible in the view. All right. So the max scale speed we can treat for this guy is probably D maybe. And save it. And then go back. I believe you guys may be aware of all these settings. If not, we have some very nice videos, detailed videos explaining the settings. But I can quickly go through. So auto reverse lights is like, let's say you end up wiring the front and the rear light like opposite. You just don't have to go back and resolder the connection. You just toggle the setting. And oh, sorry, that's for the reverse lights direction. I'm sorry. Auto reverse lights is something where you change the direction of the locomotive from forward to reverse. The lights would automatically switch. The if you switch to rear reverse, the rear lights would come on. If you switch to front, the front lights would come on. So what I was talking about reverse lights is like if you wired the lights reverse, or if you wired the motor in reverse, then you can do reverse engine direction without having to rewire the motor. And this is the new feature we have introduced: auto stop and connection loss. For example, if you lose signal from your Wi-Fi device to your locomotive, you have the setting on, the locomotive will automatically start and not be a runaway. So, anyways, go back. We have an updated speed table now. Engine is started already. Yep. Let's go back to this BNSF. Back it up a little bit. And it's already started up. So see a big problem here. Alright, let's go park it right behind UP. So last time we were doing this thing, we just configured the NSF, and the UP I had already configured, pre-configured. Well, not me, but I guess it was my son. And he probably changed the scale. So if, for example, you are O gauge or O scale, you can have a different scale of, in the configure here, you can just set the scale. If you're G scale, whatever scale you are, you set that appropriate speed, and you can then kind of have similar scale speed. All right, we got two locomotives next to each other. Go back, click on this, and we have this new icon which is create consist. You see the multiple locomotives here, and you just hit create consist. DNSF, UP, delete, that's the rear. And you can have this in reverse. It was reverse, and another thing I was saying is having these multiple speed profiles for different voltages. You can take the locomotive to different layouts with different track voltages, and you would be good to go as long as you set it to that speed profile. And you can carry the consist of your 7 or 8 locomotives, any layout, without having to carry your Wi-Fi router. The lead locomotive will act like a Wi-Fi router, and you don't have to do anything else. And let's do the consist here. So this is gonna reboot the locomotives. And the screen would refresh. And all right, we got this. The consist looks like this. The locomotive and the lead locomotive is like the main row, and then there are these smaller rows which represent the trailing loco, the helper loco. Manage here. Here, let's switch on the lights forward. Right, so let's see how this looks now. It still seems to catch up. Maybe it's a section of track or something. They're kind of coming around that probably is not in the view. Mm. I believe a different section of the track is having maybe slightly different voltage there or something like that. And, it seems to kind of catch up from different. So it's the average speed is going to be kind of consistent there. Uh, so there we have the two locomotives consistent with one click. You can unconsist them with one click, and you can add more locomotives with one click, and so on. Uh, let's see how the gap maintains in the second round here. Coming around. So you can see here they are now maintaining a pretty constant gap. So this just to demonstrate, of course, they would be coupled in real life, and this is just to show that they are kind of speed matched just by setting their still speeds and so forth. So I hope you guys found this useful, and I'm not sure if something like this exists out there today. Uh, yeah. So let's see another round of how they are coming around. And in a later session, I will bring the other UP, which you can see in the inner track, which is the ST70 Ace. I will bring it out and make a consist of the three locomotives. And you could add even those switchers if you want. I mean, they would just fit right in. I hope yeah, you like the feature. Thank you. Uh, so as the motor probably warms up, you might seem to kind of feel that the gap sometimes would close in, or uh, maybe you might move a little farther apart. And this is just the beginning. We will soon have, you know, consisting. This is just a start. So we can have speed tables of more number of speed steps, and we can even we even plan to bring out like uh, speeds in the range of decimals, so that you can really be very precise and accurate. We will have load simulation. I guess this time on the curve here, these guys have covered. So yeah, uh, some change the voltage here or something. Yeah, one of the and then sometimes there is this different gaps in the wheel. Oh, yeah, there you go. Well, after the motor has warmed up for like last 4 or 5 minutes, the speeds have changed. Uh, that's kind of normal, expected. And but we will be adding all these extra cool features which would let you adjust the speed on the fly, which could, for example, like said, like simulate the load or just uh, some other mechanical characteristics you like it. Yeah. We are now talking. Right here. So the setting, the pressure sensitive setting I was talking about can be uh, well. So this is the I'll go to that setting before that. This is the setting of the, the, the configure page of the consist itself. As you can see, most of the other settings which were not relevant have been removed here on this page. But you can still set up like momentum and coasting. And when we introduce braking, uh, that will be another feature will be coming, I think. And so, yeah, let's go back to the main screen here and go to settings here. Now we have these settings, which is these settings are different from the locomotive settings. These are the app settings, your particular device settings. For example, if you reinstall the app, these would just reset. You have to kind of reset them again. And most of you probably know, like we have these, you know, enable vibration on throttle. So, which is a very very cool thing for all the people who don't like to use smartphones. They always had this excuse of you have to look at the screen. Well, it's not one of those apps of kind of simulate Wi-Fi over DCC, which is with those apps. I know, like you have to actually keep looking at the screen and not accidentally touch somewhere. This is very different. And then you have this vibration on the throttle, which is can feel. You don't have to really look at it, but I think it's a more realistic feel than say a round knob, which you actually don't even have in the real locomotive. Then we have this cab sound, which are like turning on the switches, the reverser, you have the brakes and all. And then the sounds coming from the locomotive itself are separate. And the last setting, this is a new setting we introduced, is the set emergency stop activation pressure. Now you can press on this button and tell it activate at a certain pressure. And so when you go back here uh, and you press this button, it will stop the locomotive dead in their tracks. For example, here, kind of stop right there. And you will notice that the RPM and the speed have not come down because this is a user initiated stop and we don't want this is like a temporary stop. Now if you really want to stop them, they will come down now. But that is just meant to quickly stop something dead in track. You can have whatever speed you want and the train will not move. And this combined with coast could be thought of as like a braking feature for now, but yeah, more like an emergency brake. Yeah. I release this and the locomotive is to start moving again. So that's it. If there is any other questions, for example, regarding installation or anything else, please do let us know. We are live here, the world's greatest hobby online show. Glad to be here because we have not been to train show and we were missing them. We usually set up a similar booth where kids come and run the trains. The only thing is we don't get to go all the places, but we would want to. But yeah, this is something we're not one of those layouts where you don't touch anything. The kids can't touch anything because they'll break something. Or, I mean, even the adults. Anybody can just run the trains. That's what it is, and uh, it's not like just a kid running a train. I mean, it's pretty advanced, professional setup there. So, yeah, please feel free to ask any questions here, right here. And just gonna go back to so one of our customers even gave us this idea of installation in N scale. Just kind of remind me where uh, we could fit one of our models, DLLHP, into it. But that's like you have to always have a trailing boxcar or something like that. So what he did is like get the track power from the locomotive and take the wires back to the module which is housed inside a boxcar and get the motor output and the light output from there back into the locomotive. So it's only wires running between the loco and the boxcar, and you have an N scale installed. Uh, and just gonna stop sharing the screen here. So this is the package we ship out. Uh, it typically has module as well as a bunch of things like spare wires, LEDs, whatever you need. Yes, we're coming up at 11, so we will be going for a short break here. And when we come back, I'm gonna show you some other cool things we are working here at LocoFi. Please rejoin us. There's more exciting stuff to come. Okay, thank you.